It might take a little bit longer to load in a virtual machine as opposed to actually booting the ISO image on your hard drive. That's a process we'll cover later, but for right now, we're going to stick with VirtualBox, and it is a bit laggy, so I apologize for that. So here is the loading screen. It's very minimalistic running in VirtualBox. It is quite a bit different, but again, we'll get into that. So we're just gonna wait for it to boot. It showing a warning message there that's not really important because it is going to load. Now, once it does load the interface, we're gonna see that we get scroll bars here. We can scroll up and down or left and right. We don't want that. That's going to make it difficult to navigate the machine. So what I'm going to do is go up to View, go to Full Screen Mode. Now in full screen mode, if you want to exit, you've got this little menu down at the bottom that you can access. You can unmaximize it, you can entirely close it if you want to. We're just going to let it load up the installation. Now when loading the installation, you can try it first, or you can just install it straight to the disk, or the virtual disk in this case. So I'm going to click Install Ubuntu. For the purpose of this video, I don't want the installation to take too long, so I'm not going to download updates while installing, but I am going to install third-party software. If you're using this on your personal machine and not a server, you're probably going to want this because this allows you to play MP3, MP4 videos, and a host of other file formats that it will recognize with proprietary third-party software. So we're going to hit continue. So running in VirtualBox, it's going to be safe to erase disk and install Ubuntu. It's not going to erase your entire hard drive. It's going to use the 20 gigabyte virtual hard drive that we have predefined in previous steps. However, I want to show you a little bit more about the partitioning that we're going to be, again, diving into in a later video, but for right now, it's a good idea to have a bit of knowledge. So select something else and hit continue. And this is our virtual disk drive. It's called SDA. What we're going to do is create a new partition table because we haven't, it's a fresh hard drive there. Hit continue on that message, and we've got 21,000 megabytes of free space. Now we're going to create a partition which is going to serve as a swap area. Now, swap space is basically like extra RAM that's, oh, I forgot to resize that. Let me change this here. I'm going to delete it and start again. So this is our free space. Create a swap drive. So in the Use As drop-down, select Swap Area. Change this to about 5 gigabytes. That should be fine, and hit OK. So swap space serves as sort of extra random access memory that is not on the RAM, but it's actually on the hard drive. So it's a bit slower than RAM, and it uses it for different reasons, and it's necessary. So on an actual installation, I like to set that to about 8 to 16 gigabytes, but we're working with limited space here, so I'm going to make it 5 gigabytes. Now, once you get that created, you're going to see that the free space is now down here, and we've got 16 gigabytes left. So hit the plus sign down here. We're going to use it as ext4 journaling file system. That's just the file system type. If you drop that down, you've got all sorts. You can use the old FAT32, FAT16. We're going to stick with this. This is the best option to choose when running Linux. It's really fast. And the mount point, we're going to set that to a /. And what that is going to tell the installation is that we want to use this partition that we're creating right now, the 16 gigabyte partition, as the entire file system. So in Linux, / represents the root. And if I wanted to set this to my home partition, which is a specific partition for user files, I could actually type home, reduce that size, and then use another partition for the root. We'll get more into that. This is pretty flexible, so I'm just going to install everything to this partition and hit OK. The device for bootloader installation, typically we don't need to touch that at all. Ubuntu is pretty smart with determining where to install the bootloader. Now we're installing this in legacy mode, not EFI. If you've ever heard of EFI, it's an awesome technology to use when dual booting multiple operating systems. But as for this demonstration, we're in VirtualBox and we've only got one. So it's going to install it in a legacy mode, and the bootloader is going to be written to the very first sector of this disk drive. So when you're ready to move forward and you've got something that looks similar to this, hit install now. This is going to basically ask you, are you sure you want to make these changes, because everything is going to be lost for any partitions that you're going to format, which are these two here. Yes, we want to do this.